Welcome back to DIY Willy. Today we're working on the RZR for episode 2 of the BAJA RZR build. Let me show you what I got going on. So we're not using a RZR engine, and the transmission mounts to the RZR engine as part of the support. So what I had to do was build a transmission mount right in place where it would bolt to the engine right here. And this is what I came up with. Got some spacers in here, got some flat bar, got some pieces welded to a tube on the bottom, and got some flat bar going under because the tube ran into the front differential or shaft, output shaft. So I just ran some flat bar over and got some globby welds on there, but we'll get it cleaned up and we'll get good welds on it. But that supports the transmission solid. Yes, I understand that the transmission is supposed to bolt to the engine, but as I explained to you, we're not using a Polaris engine, so I needed to support the transmission and make it solid, and that's what I came up with. Hopefully it works, but for now that's what I came up with, and it's working. So what I've done here in preparation for cutting is I've cut here, and there's a square tube that runs here up to there. Wow, somebody's having a bad day. As you can see it on the other side. That tube I went ahead and cut. I'll replace it with some 1-inch round tubing instead of square tubing. Like I said, I've cut here, I've cut here. I cut the sway bar brace loose from here, but I left it attached to this side. I've gone ahead and I've cut all along here and down this side to right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the frame here, right there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but I want to cut it at a 45. That way I get more weld area on the frame. I don't know if you can see the black Sharpie mark on the black paint, but we'll grind the paint loose and we'll make a new mark. But that's just for planning stages of what I wanted to do. We'll do the same thing on this side over there. So yeah, it's coming along pretty good. I really like how it's turning out. Still need to take the shock loose on this side. Oh, I've cut this off up here. I've cut these tabs off and I've cut this loose. This part will probably go away, but for right now it's still here. Here's those tabs I cut off on that side. So I'll cut these off on this side too. We'll cut it loose here, and then eventually we're going to cut it right in this area on both sides when it's time to pull it back and stretch the frame. But those will probably be the last cuts we do. I'll want to do the frame cuts first and get both sides ready to go, and then it'll just stretch back as we need it. It'll just stretch back. We can put some we've got some material over there. We've got some 2.5 by 2.5 angle. We've got some 1.5 inch 120 wall DOM, and we've got some 1-inch 120 wall DOM, and we also have some 1x3 square tubing that matches the frame. So that insert will be right here, and it'll be about 11 inches long. As we talked about in the previous video, I have the 1000 drive shaft, which is longer than this one by about 11 inches, and it'll set my frame spacing where I need it. Yeah, let's see what else. Now, by doing the transmission mount, I was able to get the drive shaft off of the frame. You can see that it's been rolling on it for a while since the engine was out, and I did not want the top of the drive shaft to be with the top of the frame, and I did not want it to be sitting obviously on the bottom of the frame. So I have about a 1/4 inch down here, and I have about a 1/4 inch on top that will be kind of like sandwiched like that inside the frame. The engine's going to sit here, so I didn't want this to be too high. I could have probably went higher, but I think that's perfect. It should work great. And yeah, I think it's gonna work really good. I got a lot of cleanup to do, a lot of paint removal, but we're getting there. This is all I'm gonna do today. I'll finish up this video again in a couple days when we actually cut the frame in half. I still got to cut the driver's side, but yeah, we'll continue this video once I get going, cut in half. I got a couple of things I got to do first. Oh, I forgot to show you, I put this flat bar in here and it's welded in to make sure I keep this spacing from here to there perfect while it's cut in half. This is where the seat mount goes, so I didn't want that to change. I wanted the firewall to stay where it's at. So taking a look inside, we have got the bug body already unbolted from the pan and lifted up. Right now it's sitting on jack stands, and it's sitting on the back of the frame mount on the back where the shop goes. So yeah, it's all off already. And we've got the chain ball hanging there that pulls it up. Body doesn't weigh much at all, it's really light, but it's ready to come off. It's ready to, we'll get the body up, we'll get the pan out, and then we'll put the body all the way back down on jack stands. And then we've got to do some sheet metal removal up here in the front to get rid of everything for the footwell and everything to fit on the RZR. So that's what I got going on. That's all I'm going to do today. We'll come back to this project in a couple of days, and yeah, it's going really good. And yeah, I'll see you in a couple of days. Here we go, day 2 of episode 2 of cutting and stretching the 2012 Polaris RZR. We got a good start on it. Right now I'm gonna put some jack stands underneath it to try to catch it so it's not falling all over. I figure I'll put one back my underneath the transmission, put a couple on the frame, and hopefully you don't go all the way up. There's a little bit of gap there, but that's all right. We'll allow that bit of a drop on it. And the jack stands hopefully will support it while we cut it. And today we're gonna cut the driver's side of it just like we did on the passenger side. I didn't show that though, but I showed after the fact, like now. But we've got it all set up. I'm gonna put the jack stands and get the camera set up, maybe do some type of little time lapse, and yeah, get the sawzall and start chopping things up. Should be a good time. All right, I've got my fan going. Kind of hot today, and the noise of the sawzall, so this will be time lapse when we get it started. I'm just going to make my first cuts here on the sway bar mount, then I'll go ahead and cut the firewall here, this piece, the square tube out, and then again this square tube, and totally remove this square tube here on the side. I've already taken a measurement from here to the frame, so I know how high that's supposed to be. And once we get all that cut and it's free on this side, then we're going to go ahead and cut here on the swing arm mount, and I'll probably come back and cut the frame rails up here on top that goes back by the transmission, and then we'll make the final cut in the frame right here, and one RZR will become 2 pieces of RZR. So yeah, cross our fingers everything works out, and let's get going. Well, that went pretty good. The sway bar bracket got cut a little wider than I would have liked it to be cut. but for some reason the angle of the Sawzall, or I just didn't take my time or something, it got in the way. Everything else though cut all right, and now it's time to make the final, well, the second to the final cut. We got to cut this out all the way on this side, and then half the way on this side. So we'll do that again with the Sawzall. I know it's kind of a barbaric way of doing this. I probably could have ground the welds out, but I tried that on that side, and yeah, it might look a little cleaner, but honestly the Sawzall is doing a good job. And when we put it all back together, we're going to reinforce it all again anyway for the welds. So yeah, I'm thinking I'll make that cut right there on each side, like I said, and then we'll go ahead and cut the tops up here like this. I've got to cut this one, I forgot. I've got to cut this one out like I did the other side over there. I need to cut that. I might as well cut that now, maybe while I still got some strength here. And then we'll make this cut here. Well, there's a tube. I think there's a reinforcement right here, I think. So we'll probably grind out the weld and try to see if there's something inside. It might be like a sleeve or something, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I better take this off right now while this is still got some support to it, and I'll make it like that side over there, and then we'll make the final cuts over here, and we got to cut that side too. So yeah, it's coming along. Alright, so I've got these cuts made now on both sides. It is moving a little bit as I cut it. It's a good thing I got measurements to kind of keep it all square. I've got these cuts on the main frame rails laid out, and yeah, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to use the cutoff wheel to get in there first, and then maybe use the Sawzall if I can. This side's going to be hard for some reason. Use the Sawzall to get in there and cut it the other way. I don't know, maybe I should have laid it out this way. I had more room to work on this side. I may change that before I cut it. I may take a look at that, but I've got them laid out on both sides, and that's it. Once I make those cuts, this thing's two pieces. The cutoff wheel won't cut all the way through both sides, so I probably definitely have to use the Sawzall to cut through the other side. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I just ate 3 chicken tacos and they're coming back a little bit, but they were delicious. Anyway, back to the project. So I'm going to figure out the best way to get in there and cut this for Sawzall angles and grinder angles. I may not show cutting it. I may show only the last minute when the frame actually breaks in half. All right. Wow, let me tell you, that was a challenge. I probably shouldn't have done 45-degree cuts. Maybe I should have just went straight down. But I was the idea behind the 45-degree was to give it more weld area. But that made it very hard to cut through both sides of the 1 inch by 3 rectangular tubing. Theoretically, right now, it's all cut. It's being held in there just by pressure. I'm going to try to give it a couple shakes, maybe a couple taps with a hammer, and see if we can get it to come apart. I've got some jack stands holding it up, kind of in a way, and I'm sure once it does break free, it's gonna, it's gonna be chaos. Things are just gonna fly everywhere. But yeah, let's give it a couple shakes and see if we can get it to come apart. Well, no. Let's see. What's holding it? What's left holding it together? What was this? This one? I mean, it looks like it's all free already. I think it's this one right here on the back. I don't think it's all the way cut through. I think. It's gotta be these bars back here holding it together. Gotta be. Yeah, it's gotta be these bars. Let me get the Sawzall and we'll cut those bars too. Alright, so there was a couple spots back here on the back, still hanging on. I think we got it now. Let's give it a couple shakes and see if we can get it to come apart. Hopefully without breaking something. There we go. There we go. Just gotta do it little bit by little bit. Move my jack stands up. There we go. It's happening. Drive shaft already separated. Look at that. Oh, what was that? It leaned over. Get a load of that. Look at that. It leaned over. That might be a problem to fit it all back together. I didn't anticipate that. Independent suspension. Let's see what we can do here. What's it caught on? Drive shaft. It's just bound up right here. Shouldn't be anything caught up yet. Should just come apart. There we go. There we go. Wow. Wow. Would you look at that? What a mess. What a mess. But it is cut now. Now there's a whole lot of prep work to do before we can put it back together. This cut on this side turned out pretty good. I'm happy with that. I can just clean it up and we'll make a piece that fits it. However, This side didn't turn out so good, so we're gonna have to cut that one back again. Luckily, we've got enough new material that doesn't matter how much we have to use. We'll get it back in shape the way it should be, and then we'll cut back the other side as well, and we'll have a nice clean insert like that side. We're still gonna clean this one up too, to make sure we get a good 45 on it. But we got to clean all these edges up here on both sides. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do now of cleanup and preparation to put it back together. We got to get rid of all the powder coating so all the weld joints are clean. Clean up the frames everywhere. Clean all this stuff off. Clean all this stuff off. Yeah, there's quite a bit here. I believe I'm going to take this piece completely out because I have to build a whole new pipe around because the engine's larger. But that's very interesting, right? Now, once I have the angles on the bottom, there's some 2.5-inch angles over there on the floor. Once I have them fit up on the bottom of the frame rails, then I can align this one up and start figuring out the spacing. Now we have, underneath the Volkswagen is a box that has the drive shaft, and it's a longer drive shaft. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the longer drive shaft, and then when we put it into the tail shaft, or when we put it up to the transmission, that's exactly how long we need to be. So luckily we have that piece to help us figure it all out. But yeah, it's a part. Wow, what a project. I hope I can put it back together. I'm DIY Willy, of course I can, but it's just going to be a challenge. That's a lot of work. A lot of work. And we have to measure before we start tacking stuff together. It's got to be right. It's got to be straight. It's got to be plumb. It's got to be level. It's got to be all of that stuff before we lock it in 100%. So I don't have a frame machine. All I got's a garage floor that is split in half down the middle, and it's not even level. But we'll make sure that we get it level to the rest of the frame. It'll all be level to itself and straight against itself. We can put chalk lines on it. We can do all kinds of stuff to get it straight. And believe me, we'll probably do all that because I don't want to have a car that goes down the street sideways. And this has the potential to do that if I don't get it right. So yeah, I think I'm going to end that video here. And the next video will just be a lot of the cleanup and getting all the powder coating off and cleaning up the frame rails and getting things to where they could even begin to go back together. So give it a thumbs up. It's a good video. Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And please comment on the videos. Leave any comment you like. It really helps out the channel, that activity. Spike, you're being loud. And yeah, this is a good project. It's going to be a while. But we're almost there. I'm putting it together anyway. So always come back, DIY Willy, for your Project Baja RZR needs. If you want to watch it, share it with everybody. Let the word out that we're doing this swap, and it's a big one. Now, this was a 900 RZR. If it would have been a 1000, it would have been the right length. But we found the 900 as a perfect project candidate. So this is what we did. We cut it in half, and we're gonna put it back together. We're gonna put the Baja Buddy bog on it, put an engine in it, and hit the road, man. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.